It was a wet Thursday evening in Abuja. Rainwater beat the rooftops like marching feet, loud and restless. The traffic along the central area crawled like a tired beast, and horns blared without rhythm. Inside the emergency ward of St. Raphael's private hospital, the air smelled of antiseptic, tears, and thick uncertainty. Gloria Thomas was in labor, her hands clenched around the sides of the bed as pain sliced through her. She was soaked in sweat, her natural hair twisted in rough strands from hours of pushing, and her hospital gown clung to her like second skin. The lights above her head flickered, and the nurses shouted orders over one another. Outside the ward stood a man in a white caftan and polished shoes. His name was Raymond Ease, and though he looked like a husband, tall, well-dressed, with a gold chain dancing on his wrist, there was no husband in his heart. He scrolled through his phone, barely glancing at the room where his partner screamed life into their children. The night before, Gloria had told him, "I have a feeling they'll come early." Raymond had shrugged. He was distracted, distant. For months, he had been like that. Phone always locked, calls always whispered in the hallway. Arguments followed silence, and silence followed hunger. But still, Gloria had believed that maybe, just maybe, seeing their twin daughters would awaken something in him. It didn't. When the nurse stepped out, soaked with sweat and joy, and told Raymond, "She's delivered safely, 2 beautiful girls," he didn't smile. He didn't clap. He didn't ask to see them. He simply checked his wristwatch, cleared his throat, and said, "I'll be back." And then he walked out, into the rain, into the city, out of their lives. Inside, Gloria waited. An hour passed, then 3. By morning, the hospital matron came asking about payment. Gloria had nothing, no card, no bag, no wallet. Raymond had brought her there directly from home, ignoring her when she asked him to stop and let her pack something, anything. Now she was alone, bleeding, trembling, and broke, with 2 newborn girls who hadn't even been swaddled yet. They cried, small, helpless wails that sounded too thin to carry the weight of their beginning. Gloria held them both close, skin to skin, her tears falling into their hair. "I'll name you myself," she whispered, voice hoarse. "You don't need his name." She named the first girl Nadine because she felt strong. Loud lungs, restless fists. She named the second girl Naomi because she looked calm, observing, watching, and together, in that white hospital bed soaked in blood, fear, and betrayal, Gloria made a silent vow. "You may not have a father, but you will have a future." The hospital refused to discharge her. She stayed in the postnatal ward for 9 days. Other new mothers came and left. Balloons came for some, cakes, husbands' kisses. But for Gloria, only long nights, aching breasts, cracked nipples, and the endless loop of 2 girls crying for milk she couldn't produce fast enough. A kind nurse named Linda took pity. She brought her pap in the evening, diapers on Sundays, and whispered advice on how to bathe both babies without dropping one. The hospital wanted their money, but Linda knew a woman drowning when she saw one. It was Linda who eventually approached the matron, eyes wet, and said, "If we don't help her, she'll die here, and those girls will suffer." By the 10th day, 3 nurses and 1 janitor had pulled their money together. Gloria left the hospital wrapped in shame and gratitude. She wore a faded wrapper, 1 baby on her back, the other tied in front. The nurse handed her a bag with 6 Pampers and a feeding bottle. She walked into the Abuja sun like a war widow, with nothing but her body, her babies, and her rage. She moved into a single room in Mararaba on the far outskirts of the city. The house was a face-me-I-face-you compound. The corridor always smelled of pepper soup and gutter water. The tap outside coughed more than it flowed, and her window faced a goat shed. But Gloria built a new world there. By day, she sold fairly used children's clothes she got on credit from an old customer named Auntie Esther. By night, she told her girls stories, not about princesses or castles, but about the strength of women who raised kingdoms from nothing. She taught Nadine how to count socks at 3 years old. She taught Naomi how to measure inches of cloth with string by 5. And when they asked why they had no daddy, she told them. He left, but we stayed. That makes us stronger. Neighbors mocked her. Fine girl way no get luck. They said, how person go born twins and still day trek. Men tried to take advantage. Some offered her rides. Others offered her rent. One man in a Lexus once told her, with 2 girls like this, you're suffering fit end tonight. She slapped him and walked away. She refused to trade their dignity for survival. She hustled. She borrowed. She cried behind closed doors. But in front of Nadine and Naomi, she was a fortress. Every school fee was a battle. Every health bill was a war. But Gloria fought. And the girls, oh, they were blooming. By the time they turned 9, the community knew them by name. Nadine was quick with her mouth. She sold better than most adults at the market. Naomi was precise. She counted money with the patience of a banker. They spoke good English, not because they were taught in school, but because Gloria made them read every empty sachet, every torn calendar, and every line of Bible verses written behind the door. The 3 of them were always together, like a triangle no man could break. Gloria would look at them some nights, watching them sleep in their shared bed, and whisper to the dark, one day the world will hear your names, and he, wherever he is, will regret ever walking away. By the time Nadine and Naomi turned 16, the streets of Abuja's Nyanya market already knew their names, not because they were born of wealth, but because they made their names known, one sale, one idea, one step at a time. Gloria had moved them from that leaking compound in Mararaba to a self-contained apartment in Karu. It wasn't much, but it had walls they didn't share and a fan that actually worked. For the first time, the twins had their own mattress, not a piece of foam thrown on cement. They called it progress, and that progress came from sweat. Nadine was bold. She could sell anything to anyone. She once convinced a banker in a suit to buy a child's cartoon bedsheet for his fiancée, calling it youthful nostalgia. The man laughed and paid double. Naomi, on the other hand, was the numbers girl. She kept records, tracked expenses, drew up small charts with biro, and ruled notebooks. She would whisper to Nadine, if we increase our prices by 100 Nigerian nairas on Saturdays, we can afford Mama's eye drops. Together, they created a small empire in a kiosk behind the bus park. They called it Twin Touch Collections, selling hair accessories, perfume oils, secondhand skirts, and even charging phones. People laughed at them at first. Who do these small girls think they are? But their ambition was louder than any insult. When they finished secondary school, university was not even a dream. It was a joke. Where would the money come from? Gloria had sold everything sellable, her mother's old wedding ring, her gas cylinder, even her only gold earrings, all to register WEC. Still, they didn't cry. They worked. And one day, the miracle Gloria had prayed for came not from heaven, but from a radio. It was Naomi who heard the ad. Are you a female entrepreneur between the ages of 16 and 25? Do you have a small business that needs support? Apply for the Women Rising initiative. She ran home breathless. Nadine didn't even ask questions. They got a neighbor to help them send an email using his phone. They didn't even have a business plan, just raw hunger. But the story of 2 teenage girls who built a brand from a roadside kiosk to feed their blind mother, that was a story even the judges couldn't ignore. They won 750,000 Nigerian nairas, a grant Free. They invested every naira. They rebranded, printed flyers, opened a page online, bought a sewing machine, started customizing tote bags. Niger girls loved affordable fashion, and Nadine was a marketing beast. Naomi designed their labels by hand and wrote every order down in a ledger. By age 19, they were featured in Belenija. By 21, they were awarded as Rising Young Entrepreneurs of the Year. And by 22, they opened their first walk-in boutique in Guarimpa. The sign outside read, Twin Touch Empire. The same market women who mocked Gloria years ago now walked into her daughter's store wearing geli and apologies. Meanwhile, Raymond Ease was in Lagos, still rich, still empty. He ran a distribution company, wore Italian shoes, and had a new wife who gave him 2 sons, boys he barely raised because he was always traveling. But something inside him had dulled. He never told his wife about Gloria or the twins. In his head, he had erased them. But shame is not something you delete. It's something that sleeps. And one Sunday morning, it woke up. Raymond had just come back from a business trip in South Africa. As he strolled past a newsstand at Acacia City Mall, a glossy magazine cover slapped his eyes like a rebuke from the past. 2 beautiful young women, dark-skinned, poised, smiling like they owned the sun. The headline screamed, "The Thomas Twins, from hawkers to owners of a fashion empire." His eyes froze. His feet, too. He picked up the magazine and read the feature story right there at the stand, heart racing. Abandoned at birth by their father, raised by a single mother who sold secondhand clothes to survive, Nadine and Naomi Thomas have built one of Abuja's fastest-growing fashion chains. His knees buckled. He had told himself he'd never look back. But here they were, alive, flourishing, and without him. That night, Raymond couldn't sleep. He called in sick the next morning, sat on his balcony, and drank 2 bottles of whiskey alone. His wife asked what was wrong. He said nothing, but something was wrong. Something had cracked open inside him, a guilt so loud it echoed in his spine. He wanted to see them, not to ask for forgiveness. He didn't even deserve that. He just wanted to see what his blood had become. So, 2 weeks later, in the heat of a Thursday afternoon, Raymond boarded a flight from Lagos to Abuja. He walked into Twin Touch Empire quietly. The boutique smelled of lemongrass and success. The walls were clean. Staff were smiling. A TV screen on the wall played a video of the twins receiving an award. And then he saw them. Nadine, on the phone, snapping fingers at a courier rider. Naomi, seated by the POS, entering figures into a laptop. Grown, beautiful, bold. They didn't notice him at first. But when he stepped forward and cleared his throat, Naomi looked up. Their eyes locked. Seconds passed. Something in her face shifted. She blinked, paused, then asked softly, "Can I help you?" Raymond couldn't speak. He only said, You look like your mother." Nadine turned sharply, her brows furrowed. Raymond stood before them, older now, slower, with silver strands in his beard and tremors in his hands. But guilt, that was still young, still sharp. Nadine hadn't blinked. Naomi had risen slowly from her seat. He tried again. "Gloria, your mother, is she still—" "She's alive," Naomi cut in, "and she still remembers everything you did, or didn't do." Raymond shifted on his feet. I didn't come to fight. I just wanted to see you. I didn't even think this was real when I saw the article. You left her in the hospital," Nadine said, her voice calm but heavy. "You left her with 2 newborn babies and a body that had just gone through hell." "I was scared," he muttered. "You were a coward," Naomi replied, stepping forward. "That's the only word for it." Raymond's mouth quivered. "I came to say sorry." Nadine tilted her head slightly, studying him the way a judge studies a defendant who arrived too late. Apology is for people who broke a plate. You abandoned two human beings, she said, and now that we're standing, flying, and winning, you show up wearing guilt like perfume and expect a reunion? She wasn't yelling. That would have been easier. But her restraint was scarier. Naomi folded her arms. You know the worst part? We survived without ever knowing your name. That tells you how unnecessary you were. I wasn't ready to be a father, he said, more to himself now. Then you should never have laid with a woman like our mother, Naomi said. Because she was ready. She gave everything she had. She bled, sold, carried, taught, prayed, and suffered, all while you slept on silk sheets and built a second life. Raymond's eyes welled up. I read your interviews, he said quietly. The magazine, the article. I saw the strength. I saw your eyes, and I knew. I messed up. I just wanted to meet you, even once. Nadine exchanged a look with her twin. Then she said, You're lucky we didn't call the police. Not for what you did to us, for what you did to her. Naomi nodded. She's the only reason we're not broken. She gave us her name, Thomas. Not yours. Never yours. Raymond nodded slowly. His shoulders fell, weighed down by decades of absence. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and brought out a worn, folded envelope. It's not money, he said quickly. It's a letter. I wrote it after I saw that article. You don't have to read it. Just maybe one day when you're less angry. Naomi didn't take it. Neither did Nadine. He dropped it on the counter. They didn't speak. And slowly, silently, Raymond turned and walked out of the boutique. That night, the sisters didn't talk much about him. The letter sat untouched between them on the coffee table while they ate yam and egg sauce in their apartment. He's a stranger, Naomi muttered. Nadine poked at her food. But a familiar one. I hate that I felt something, Naomi whispered. Not forgiveness, just pain, old pain. Maybe that's what he wanted, for us to carry it again. No, Naomi said firmly. We've carried enough. A week later, Gloria came to visit the store. It was a Saturday, and customers had filled the place. When she walked in, a soft bell jingled. Her daughters ran to hug her, both proud and smiling. But then Gloria paused. Her eyes scanned the counter. She saw the envelope. She didn't ask. She knew. She picked it up, turned it in her hand, and slid it into her handbag without a word. Later, while they sat in the back room, drinking malt and eating gala, Nadine finally spoke. He came, Mama. Gloria didn't react. He just walked in. Naomi added, I know. Gloria said, quietly. Nadine blinked. You know, I saw his name trending 2 weeks ago. I saw the photo in that magazine. I knew he'd come. Men like that, they always come back when the harvest is ready. Naomi placed her head on her mother's shoulder. He didn't ask for much, Nadine said, just to see us. And did you let him see you? Gloria asked, eyes distant. They nodded. Good, she said, smiling faintly. Then that's enough. 2 months later, the Thomas twins were invited to give a TEDx talk in Lagos. Topic, the strength of a single name. They told their story, not with bitterness, not with drama, but with honesty. They spoke of their mother, of street-side dreams, of the pain of not knowing a father, but learning that not all roots need to be watered to bloom. At the end of the talk, the crowd stood. Applause thundered, not a dry eye in the room. Raymond watched from the live stream in his Lagos home, alone, and for the first time in years, he cried without stopping.